Hi everyone, just wanted to touch base for today. For some reason Teams is not working. It's not allowing me to sign in. It's kicking me out. So I figured I'd record it this way and send you guys the recording of everything this way for this week. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. Alright, so we're going to start off talking about Module 5. So I want you guys to think about, you guys have been here for 5 weeks now. Everyone has worked so hard on all of their everything. And think about what you guys have done so far. And I also want you guys to think about really how your writing has progressed. I want you guys to think about those areas where your writing has shined, the areas you guys are still looking to polish. All of that I'd like you guys to kind of keep an eye out for in this last week. So this week we're going to work on your final paper. I'm still working on giving feedback this week on your drafts. So those will be completed over the next couple of days. So as you guys are looking at that, just let me know what kind of questions that you have about them and how I can help you. So the final won't be due until Tuesday, August 9th. But as soon as you receive feedback from me, feel free to email me with any questions or if you guys need any resources. The other thing we're going to be working on this week is going to be our reflection discussion. So our initial post will be due Tuesday, so tonight. And then I want you guys to add one response too if you guys want to go above and beyond by Saturday. Our last discussion is absolutely amazing. And I wanted to thank you guys so much for last week's discussion because it's really shown how you guys are growing as writers. So last is our live classroom session. I want you guys to finish that up by Sunday. So you'll have your question from what we worked on today. So as you guys look at your discussion reflection, and there are already some posts, so thank you guys for posting early, I want you guys to think about what has helped you improve your writing in general and your persuasive writing in particular. This is really going to help you not only just to, check off a box and complete a discussion reflection, but this is also going to help you really look at your own writing and see what you've learned that can help you in your future, in other courses, in your daily life, and your professional life. So as you are continuing to look at what we've done so far, I want you guys to think about this whole idea about research. So you don't have to physically go to a library to literally do anything anymore. So you guys are able to go online, go to the library, and really find exactly what you need. Really narrow your search to what you need to help support your own ideas. So I want you guys to think about these infinite possibilities of being able to research. But something else that's important is really staying focused. Sometimes you'll have an overall topic. You might have a really very narrow position on your topic. So kind of narrowing your research is a great way to go in there and stay focused. So you don't have a lot of space in this paper. It's only going to be 3 to 4 pages, double spaced, not counting your title page. So I want you guys to think about using the best information from your sources for this paper that you guys are working on. So really think about how this can help the reader see your point of view and how you can really go and build your argument as you work through this paper. Lastly, I want you guys to think about in your source collection, just to be disciplined. You guys have all found some wonderful sources so far. Since we do have this limited amount of space to add your ideas, I want you guys to think about how you can really find the best sources. So if you have one source that maybe is just decent, and you have another source that has a little bit more specific detail related to your own topic and argument, definitely use that other source. At this point, since you're still on the revising stage, you'll be able to kind of continue on with your revision. So if you need to swap a source, get rid of a source, add a new source, absolutely go for it. Next, I want you guys to think about these infinite possibilities, right? And the important part is staying focused and narrowing in on your argument. So when you guys are using any kind of direct quotes or paraphrases or summaries from what you guys have found from your sources, I want you guys to think about, is this the best material that you can use? And does it really support your overall topic or does it support your overall argument? So you're really building that particular argument to help the reader understand your point of view and really come over to your side and eventually convince them of that argument. So as you guys start using Google or you're looking at any type of source for your work, I want you guys to think about how many hits you get when you go to Google. A gajillion. We know that, right? So you want to make sure that you are always choosing wisely. Think about avoiding different different websites, some like Wikipedia, people can go on there and kind of change the information. So that's going to be important to stay away from sites like that. You also want to make sure that you are looking at the title, looking at the URL, looking at the publication date. All of that's going to be helpful in evaluating your sources for credibility. So being relevant is going to be helpful as you start to look at how recent this in particular source is as you guys are looking at this list. So one thing that I want you guys to note, this whole idea of being able to discriminate between sources. So from this sample search, right, the first thing up at the top is research paper checker. So we see ad, we see for Grammarly. So you want to make sure that when you are going to, if you're using a Google search, I want you guys to make sure that you are looking at each one of these sites carefully. See if it's an ad. See if it's someone that is trying to sell papers to students. There are so many different possibilities out there that I want you guys to make sure that you're kind of avoiding those first couple on the list to avoid ads, to avoid those paid positions in a Google search. So as you guys go in and organize your information, I want you guys to think about kind of how you go and organize your ideas. Some people make copies, other people print everything out and put them in a folder. Saving that identifying information for the source is beyond important, so you can refer back to it. And it's going to help you create your reference page as well. So depending on what you guys do, I know for me, I really enjoy Google Docs and I have folders for absolutely everything. It's a great way of organizing your information to keep it all in one place, especially when you're writing a paper. If you want to go in and make a copy, even leave a folder on your desktop, that might be another good way of organizing it, just so you can make sure that you can refer back to it as you guys are going in and creating your in-text citations and your reference page. So as you guys are doing that, just remember that you're going to be having an in-text citation for each reference, minimum of 1. So if you have 5 sources total, you will have 5 in-text citations, 1 for each of those sources. So that's another hint, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So as we kind of start to look at direct quotes, you always want to use minimal direct quotes in your writing. I want you guys to think about summarizing information and paraphrasing as much as possible in your writing. It really shows the reader that not only can you look at your source material, anyone can copy and paste a direct quote, but if you summarize or paraphrase it, you're really taking that information and you're putting it into your own words. So this is going to help you show the reader how much work you actually did when you found that particular source. Now, as you think about these reasons and emotions and the belief, so these ideas of persuasion, and we kind of talked about those 3 rhetorical appeals last week or the week before. So we kind of want to look at, you want to make sure that there's some type of logic in your argument. So as you guys are going through this, I want you guys to think about logic. I want you guys to think about emotions too. We talked about some of those ASPCA commercials with the dogs and everyone does sad music. All of that, you want to think about how you really can pull on the heartstrings of the reader to kind of go in and see what you can use to get in there and really grab them in your argument. And then I want you guys to think about using those values and beliefs of your audience to build your argument as well. So as we think about this important part here from this slide, something else that's important is if we wanted to take a particular quote, a direct quote, for example. So if we wanted to select one direct quote where the arrow is the gray arrow, down at the bottom, you'll see what this direct quote would look like with your in-text citation. So in that in-text citation, you would have the author's last name, because we said this is written by David Masters. You'll have the year published, and this is from paragraph 3. Now, if you have a source with a page number, you can have P, lowercase p, period, and a 3. So a paragraph number is only going to be there if you have a website or something that does not have a page number. But that is just going to be for a direct quote. So next, I want you guys to think about making sure that you have all of this information about your particular source. It is so important to have this ahead of time. I've had students who have written an entire research paper, and then once they get finished with it, they decide to go back and find out where to put their citations in. So I want you guys to not wait for that because that is going to be a very difficult way of citing your sources and finding your sources. So I want you guys to think about really not only what information you have from your sources, how you can format it, how you can cite it, and all of this is just essentially to give credit where credit is due and avoid plagiarism. So right now in your drafts of your essays, I want you guys to think about, is there anywhere that you might have used source information, whether it's a summary, you refer to a statistic, or anything like that, where there might be a missing citation. So that's something that you can absolutely keep an eye out for in the writing process as we move into the final draft. So one quick note, you're never going to use the website URL in the text of the essay. So you'll have your APA format on your reference page. I want you guys to just remember the URL is not going to be in your in-text citation. So try your best to find that author's last name, the year, and the page or paragraph number for a direct quote. So I want you guys to think about the APA manual is the best way to kind of help out. And we also have that wonderful APA toolkit. So I want you guys to think about with this toolkit, and I've put it in some feedback for you guys. It's in a few of our announcements. If you need it again, I can send it to you. Just let me know. This is a great way because there's so many things happening with APA. There's always so many changes that you really do not have to memorize everything, which is really important. So as you guys need help with anything, it's helpful to have these resources. I know it's important for this class for you guys to work on your writing, but I also want you guys to think about the resources that you guys have built as well. These are going to help you in your future courses and ultimately your future career. I want you guys to think about too, if you guys are unsure, totally look it up, use our APA toolkit, use all of the wonderful resources that we have. If you need anything from me or have a specific question, let me know. I am happy to help. So next, I want you guys to, this site gives you a little bit of information, kind of incorporate your direct quotes and also your in-text citations. So if we look at this first example, so this one here where it says, according to Palladino and Wade, this is going to be an introductory phrase. What that's going to do is introduce the reader so we know exactly what authors are stating this fact. You'll want to always have the year published after the author's name when you're introducing it, a comma, and then we know that this particular quote here, so a flexible mind is a healthy mind, we know it's a direct quote because there's quotation marks, and we know it came from somewhere with page numbers because in that last citation we have page 147. Now, the next way you can do it, so the important part is really incorporating the author, the year published, and the page or paragraph number into those citations. So in the second version, we say, in 2010, Palladino and Wade noted that a flexible mind is a healthy mind. So now we see we've already introduced the year, we've already introduced the author, and then we have the page number at the end. So a third way of looking at this is if we start off with a phrase and kind of incorporate this into a sentence. If we said, in fact, we have our direct quote, we have our authors, we have our year published, and our page number. So these are just a couple of other examples of how you incorporate that information. So it really is important that you have all of this information located in each citation, just so the reader can not only follow that citation and show where that came from, but also that it's going to help you just avoid plagiarism overall. So as you guys are looking at organizing and prioritizing your sources, I want you guys to think about how we kind of looked at this idea of direct quotation, paraphrase, summary. So again, the paraphrase, you're putting that into your own words as you are a summary. Your summary, you're really condensing those main ideas. A paraphrase, you would take a paragraph, rewrite it in your own words to show your understanding of it. And then what you would do is just make sure that you've completely rewritten it, varying your word choice, varying your sentence structure, all of that. And it's roughly the same amount of text as the original. It might be a little bit shorter. So what I want you guys to think about when you organize your source material, this is one way that people do it and kind of color code it. So there's a couple of different categories that kind of might help you as you guys go through your paper. And as you think about this, if you have a lot of direct quotes in your paper overall, this might be a great way to check to see if there's any you can change to a summary or to a paraphrase. So if you guys, so this paper, we want to say you want to quote a source, right? So you can highlight that potential quote in a particular color. So that might be a reason that someone would want to add to their particular essay. But this also works the other way, not only looking at your sources, but also looking at your essay. If you go through and highlight everything in, say, let's say yellow, right? That's going to have a direct quote. That's going to show you in each paragraph if your paragraphs are balanced. If most of your paragraphs are highlighted yellow, you might want to go in, add more of your own ideas, think about your explanation and your connection back to your thesis, and think about paraphrasing and summarizing as much as possible. So as you guys work on this color coding, right, if you want to take a potential paraphrase and you say, all right, this seems like a really good paragraph. Oh, this information is perfect. It supports my thesis. And this is something you want to paraphrase. You might want to change that to another color as well. And again, this is another great way to kind of color code your draft to see when you're using paraphrases, direct quotes, and then your summary. So the same idea is take a different color, we'll say orange, and kind of look what you're using as summary. So that main important part as you guys are writing is that you're going in and you are really making sure you're balancing your ideas in each paragraph. So their sources are important. Absolutely, because this is our argumentative, our research essay, but you want to make sure that your own ideas are in there. You really should, the reader really should know your connection between your source material and how it connects back to your thesis overall. So as you start to kind of look at your research and organize it, what you can do is you can start to prioritize it. So again, as I said before, if you found a second or third source in addition to what you guys have so far, and it's a better source than what you have included in your draft, feel free to get in there and take it out and take one out and put a new one in. If you find something that's more important, if it's better information, if it's more recent information, whatever that may be, that's really going to help you get in there and prioritize it and really show the reader you did your research in evaluating your source and you're showing the best information to support your argument. So think about separating the ways the information will be used. So keep that in mind, those direct quotes, those paraphrases, and also those summaries. So all of those are ways you can organize your source information in your writing as you start building your paragraphs. And then you'll kind of work on that argument and seeing how it comes together in your paper. So as you guys are working on this revision, I want you guys to think about even pulling out your paragraphs and looking at each one individually. I want you guys to think about those, think about their topic sentences, supporting sentences, and really if there's a balance of source information and your own ideas in each paragraph. So as you guys are choosing your appropriate sources, and if you're still looking for additional sources, let me know. I'm happy to help. So if we want to look at like a primary source, right, which is an original source. So if there's an eyewitness account, a proposal, a literary work, historical document, direct research, or a lab experiment, these are going to be all primary sources. So as you guys look at primary sources, these are going to be some of the best sources. You can also kind of go in and use our library too, which is another great help to find sources, not only credible, but scholarly sources as well. As you start looking at your secondary sources, some of these might seem a little bit familiar to what you guys have been using. So one example, explanation of a political survey, newspaper editorial, work of literary criticism, specialized website commenting, wind energy. So if we look at this first example, so an explanation of a political survey, it's not the actual survey, it's just an explanation of that survey. So I want you to think about how the survey information is one thing and how someone has gone in and explained this political survey. And we all know everyone has a little bias and everyone has a particular position on every topic. So this is going to be really helpful here to look at that explanation and make sure it really coincides and maybe even find that political survey and say, all right, maybe I can find where that original information is, where that primary source is, period. So as you kind of look at varieties of source material, there is a lot of popular material. It isn't scholarly, but sometimes it can be okay. So if you have an audience of a general reader, if there's some type of staff writer, and a lot of you guys will have that question, it doesn't have an author. Why doesn't it have an author? There's just a staff writer. That's staff writer. Unfortunately, there isn't an actual author listed. They're usually going to entertain or inform. Usually these aren't cited. As you guys look at journal articles, those are all cited, and you'll see additional in-text citations, and you'll see reference citations for every journal article. So as you guys look at these popular materials and think about the examples that you guys can have. So this example here is going to be the Wausau Daily Herald. So this is just going to be an article in this particular newspaper. So it's going to be a popular source. So as you kind of look at and make sure that your work is substantive, I want you guys to think about, is your work written by an expert? Do you know who your author is? Have you Googled your author? Honestly, Google is fantastic to find out the authors and find out their credentials and really what they're doing for their particular idea. So I want you guys to think about, do they have the credentials that are backing them to write about this particular information? So I want you guys to think about too, you want to inform and educate. So think about how that particular reading is informing and educating you, and really how you're going to take that information and inform and educate your reader. So as you guys think about this, the Economist, for example, this is going to be a great source, well, depending on what your topic is. So this is just an example of definitely a source that's going to inform and is going to educate. So as you guys look at professional and scholarly journals, I want you guys to think about the amount of research. So as you guys look at research, I want you guys to think about, as you guys have already looked at, you've looked at the author, you've looked at their credentials, you've looked at the year published, all of those things are going to be important. So as you guys are looking at those, you're going to also see a lot of citations, because those people are usually citing the work of others and other credible scholarly writers to really support their ideas. So many of the readers are academics for these scholarly journals, so sometimes they can be a little bit difficult to read, but this is where paraphrasing and summarizing will come in to kind of help you break down that information to fully understand it and add it to your information in your paper. So as you guys are thinking about the purpose of these scholarly journals, it's really contributing to that body of knowledge in any type of field, so whatever that particular topic is. The discussion is going to be highly sophisticated, and again, just to reiterate, many different sources are cited. So a lot of these sources you guys will find right through our library, and it's wonderful to use these sources because if you think about it, these are really going to help you as a writer and really show the reader that you're a scholarly writer and you have done your research and found the best sources possible. So as you guys are still working on your revisions, if you have any source information or questions, let me know. And we also have a great library chat. I don't know if you guys have used it before. If you head over to the library page, and you'll be able to kind of go in and ask the librarian questions to kind of help get you started. So either way, there are resources to help if you guys need anything at all. So this is really what I want you guys to keep in mind as you continue working on this. So I want you guys to think about 85% of the paper is the writer's original thought, 15% is supporting material. And this is a great way to kind of look at your paragraph structure as well. So you don't have to have source information in every single paragraph, but you will need to make sure that most of your paragraphs are mostly your own ideas. So I want you guys to think about, once you start that paragraph, that topic sentence, in your own words, showing the reader what is that overall reason to support your thesis. And then those supporting sentences, if you have information from your source, awesome, include it. Then you always want to make sure that you include an explanation, and you also include a connection back to that topic sentence in your overall thesis. So a direct quote can absolutely be helpful, but you want to hold the reader's hand a little bit and show them a connection and show them why this source, this direct quote is important and how it relates back to your overall thesis. So just a few reminders. Try to avoid using Wikipedia, Yahoo, if you want to use, if you don't, and Google. Google Scholar, you can find something. Sometimes you can find something on Google. Sometimes there are different sites where you can find scholarly journals, but usually you can't even open the entire thing and they don't have the full text. So that's why it's helpful, even if you are looking at Google Scholar, or if you did find a journal article on Google, that you kind of circle back around with our librarians, because we might actually have it in our library. So that's why the library is also a great place to start to find these scholarly journals. And I want you guys to take your time. We have time to work on this paper, so we have till the 9th, so you guys have time. If you have some sources where you're kind of giving a second thought and saying, I'm not really sure if this is the best source to kind of help, I want you guys to think about that and think about maybe swapping it for another source, or reaching out to me for help with a source, or reaching out to a librarian for help with a source. So any of those things are going to be super important. So to reiterate, I wanted to kind of go over, we talked about our in-text citations before in one slide, but I wanted to just give another quick review of these. So these are going to be super important. Anytime you're using source information, you must include an in-text citation. If you have a draft of your essay and there are no citations throughout your entire essay, definitely get back in there and add those in when you can. So if you are in that point where you haven't added any of your in-text citations, you're going to have to pull out those sources again, go through your paper, and really say, okay, what information came from which source, and then you can kind of plug in those citations. So it is important, again, if you have 5 sources, you have at least 5 citations, 1 for each. So the other thing I want you guys to think about, just adding in that author's last name, year published, page or paragraph number, that source material, introduce it with a citation. Think about your citation for a summary or paraphrase. All of those things are going to be important. They all need to be cited. As you think about your references, I want you guys to look for this information. A lot of you have it and have a great start so far. You want to look for the author, year published, article title, journal title, volume number and issue. That's if you have a journal. You want to find that URL in the publisher. All of these things are not only going to help you with your references, but they're also going to help you with your citations as well. So as you start to look at your type of source, I want you guys to think about our APA toolkit and really how that can go in and that can help you. As you look at your paragraphs, I want you guys to think about your topic sentence, so supporting sentences and your concluding sentence. Please make sure to write those topic sentences in your own ideas. I want you guys to think about how are those going to really affect your reader. So when the reader reads that topic sentence, are they going to know what that reason is to support your thesis? If not, you might want to change it. Those supporting sentences, you want to make sure that every single one of those sentences supports that overall topic sentence, which in turn supports your thesis. So if some of those sentences have some topics or ideas that don't really relate exactly, you might want to get rid of those. And that concluding sentence, you really want to make sure that you wrap up that particular paragraph. So what is your explanation and connection between your source information and your overall thesis? So that connection is going to be important. So this is why you want to make sure that you're not using all source material in each paragraph, because the reader wants to hear from you. They want to hear about your ideas, your argument, and really why this information is important and how it connects and supports your argument. As you're working on revision, summarize and paraphrase as much as possible. This is going to help the reader see that you did your research, you did everything that you could to really support your overall writing. And then avoid those long direct quotes, because any of us can kind of go in and copy and paste long direct quotes. So paraphrasing and summarizing is going to show that you really did your work and you really understand that particular topic and that particular article. So as you guys are revising and editing your work, we have a million resources to help. Grammarly, awesome, great to help as well. We have our writing lab, our peer review. So if you guys have someone at home, a friend, a family member, anyone that's going to give you an honest opinion on your work, have them read it. Read your work aloud. Sometimes you can hear errors and you can start to kind of correct them. Read and review multiple times before submitting. Reading your work multiple times is so important. So even if you have a couple days to put your work aside, don't look at it for a few days and then come back to it. You're still going to come at it with a fresh set of eyes, and you really might find something that you hadn't found before that you want to go in and you want to edit or revise. So as you guys are thinking about our live classroom question, think about back when we talked about searching. So even if we looked at Google and we got a bajillion hits, right? When performing a first general search on a topic, why is it not advised to choose the first several sources of the search? So think back what we were talking about. Think about those first couple sources. Go Google something right now, and it'll kind of help you answer this question as well. So again, final essay, you're still working on it. I'm still working on feedback. So it's not going to be due till Tuesday, August 9th. So you have a little bit of time to work on it. go through my feedback line by line. Let me know if you need any help, any resources, questions. Use the resources that you guys have, and keep up the great work, and thank you for your hard work. So I want you guys to think about any resources that you need over these last couple weeks. We are in the home stretch, so just stay positive and you guys got this. Any questions at all, reach out, and I will see you guys on the discussion board.